What could possibly be written in a mother's handwritten letter, kept secret for 18 months, that would bring Jungkook of BTS to his knees, crying for 10 minutes straight, speechless? What deep, emotional journey awaits in those pages? Today, on June 11th, 2025, Jungkook returned home after completing 18 long months in military service, and he held in his hands a hidden message from his past. A message so powerful, so raw, it shattered the final barrier between idol and son. This morning, the world watched as Jungkook, Korea's golden magne, emerged from the gates of his training base. But the spotlight didn't fall on celebration or fanfare. It was on a simple, sealed envelope, delivered from his mother. For the first time in a year and a half, she handed him her carefully preserved words. And what followed was 10 minutes of silent tears, no words spoken, just the weight of memories, struggles, and a mother's unwavering love. Jungkook's military journey began on December 12, 2023, side by side with fellow BTS member Jimin. At the peak of his solo career, Jungkook made the unexpected decision to enlist early, a move praised by fans worldwide.
As one fan wrote on X, Jungkook wamil pas lagi puncaknya sebagai solo artis, gak banyak orang yang bisa sepercaya itu sama member dan fansnya. Salut.
Reverberations of that decision kept the army watching, waiting. But amid drills, cook duty at his infantry base, and messages on Weverse, including a heartfelt February 2025 post promising to return stronger, one thought stayed hidden: his mother's letter. Handwritten, sealed, buried deep in her heart, and kept away from view for all of his military tenure. Then, this morning's big surprise, as he stepped through the gate, the envelope was placed into his hand. No crowd.
No flash.
Just a mother and her son. The envelope trembled as he took it. Inside, lines in a familiar scrawl, tender memories of his first steps, notes about the late nights his mother spent praying under dim lamplight, dreams for his future whispered across sleepless evenings, and then tears. Just tears. 10 minutes of them. No words. Only the sound of emotion unfiltered, of an idol finally allowed to drop the mask and be a son again. What could those words have said? Did she recount their shared hardships? Did she speak of his father's hopes or her silent tears? Did she remind him that the weight he carried, of stardom, of pressure, had only strengthened her love? Think, nearly a year and a half of separation, of Jungkook finding resilience on barren training grounds while his mother wrote every day, holding her breath. She tucked in prayers between lines of ink, tracing over mistakes, weaving hope into every word, hoping the letter's arrival would give her son permission to weep and to heal. The tears didn't stop, not even when cameras turned away, not when the staff tried to give him privacy, not even when Jimin quietly placed a hand on his back, offering silent support. The moment was raw, too real for the stage, too delicate for words. Jungkook stood still, letter gripped in his trembling fingers, as the inked emotions of his mother, frozen in time for 18 months, finally found their home in his heart. It was not a performance. It wasn't a farewell. It was a homecoming. Some say soldiers return from war carrying invisible wounds. But Jungkook returned from service with something different, an invisible hug from a mother who had counted each passing day, who had written not just a message, but a memory. A message she had begun on the very first night he left home, sealing it away in a drawer she never once opened until today. A letter that was more than paper and ink. It was time itself. It was every night she waited awake, every meal she cooked without him. Every morning she looked at the empty chair and said nothing. And now, all of that, every ounce of hope, pain, pride, and maternal love was held between the creases of that envelope. What exactly did the letter say? That's what the world wants to know. What line caused Jungkook, the global superstar, the calm and composed performer, to lose himself entirely in quiet sobs? Was it the way she wrote his name, like she did when he was a child? Did she recall the exact words she whispered to him on the night before he left for Seoul as a teenager? Did she remind him that, no matter the stage, no matter the distance, no matter the fans chanting his name, he was still her boy, the one who once asked if dreams were real? Those watching from around the world could only guess. Some fans claim they saw him whisper, "I'm sorry, Mom," before he folded the letter to his chest. Others say he smiled through the tears when he reached a particular line. Whatever the truth may be, it is clear. This was no ordinary reunion. This wasn't just about a son returning from service. It was about two souls reconnecting through the power of memory, handwritten with love, As the news broke online, social media platforms erupted with hashtags. Jungkook's letter, welcome home JK. JK's mom knows best. Each one a testament to how deeply this moment touched millions. Armies didn't just celebrate his return. They mourned with him, cried with him, stood beside him, virtually holding his hand as he stepped into the next chapter of his life. And isn't that what makes BTS different? That even in their most personal, vulnerable moments, they allow fans to walk beside them, not as intruders, but as witnesses to something true. Journalists tried to approach the family for comments, but Jungkook declined, politely yet firmly. For once, this was something he needed to process on his own. Not as a celebrity, not even as a soldier, just as Jungkook, son of a woman who never stopped believing in him, even in silence. Later that evening, close sources reported seeing Jungkook still holding the letter tightly at the dinner prepared by his family. He didn't read it aloud. He didn't explain. He simply kept it near, as though its presence was enough. Observers said he looked peaceful, more grounded than ever before. For a man who has performed on every global stage, who has danced under lights brighter than the moon, this moment, with one letter and a mother's love, may have been the most sacred of all. And what of the music? Fans are already speculating whether this emotional reunion will spark a new era of songs, perhaps even a solo project dedicated to family, to home, to the parts of life unseen by the spotlight. If there's one thing BTS has always done, it's turn pain into poetry, silence into song. Will Jungkook transform this letter into lyrics? Into a lullaby for the child he once was? Into a tribute for the mother who raised not just a star, but a man? The possibilities are endless, but one thing remains certain. This letter has changed him. It has cracked something open that even years of fame couldn't touch. And fans will feel that shift, whether through a note, a smile, or a tear on stage. As night fell over Seoul, fans gathered outside Big Hits building, not screaming or singing, but lighting candles, holding quiet vigils in honor of the intimate moment Jungkook had shared with them. Some read poetry. Others simply stood in silence. It wasn't about being loud, it was about being present. And in their stillness, they echoed what Jungkook must have felt. Gratitude for the mother who wrote the letter, for the 18 months that changed him, and for the fact that sometimes the most powerful moments aren't the ones we see under spotlights, but the ones that unfold in silence, sealed in envelopes, passed from one generation to the next. Will Jungkook ever share the letter's contents with the public? Will his mother speak of why she chose to wait 18 months instead of sending it earlier? Will we, the fans, ever be allowed a glimpse into that private corner of his heart? Maybe, maybe not. But perhaps we don't need to read the words to feel their power. Perhaps it's enough to know that they exist, and that they brought our golden magne to tears. This isn't the end of a military journey. It's the beginning of something far more important. The return not just of an artist, but of a son. A young man who faced fire, both in uniform and in his soul, and emerged softer, stronger, and more human than ever. And as Jungkook walks forward, past the gates of his duty and into the wide open world once more, one question lingers in the hearts of millions. What would your mother write to you if she only had one letter to give? In the hours that followed Jungkook's emotional reunion with the letter, the world didn't calm. It leaned in closer. News outlets, fans, and even fellow artists paused to reflect on the power of a mother's words. Not headlines about his military service, not charts or awards, just the raw, unfiltered sight of the world's biggest idol humbled by the touch of home. It wasn't dramatized. It wasn't curated for cameras. It was deeply, achingly real. And that's exactly what made it unforgettable. Back at home, inside the quiet warmth of the Jeon family's living room, Jungkook reportedly sat in stillness, the letter placed beside a family photo from years ago. It was one of the few times his name wasn't shouted in stadiums or projected on LED screens. It was simply spoken, softly, by the people who knew him before the world did. His mother, seated next to him, didn't ask questions. She didn't press for reactions. She had already said everything she needed to say, in ink, on paper, and through all the years of love she poured into raising him, the atmosphere was thick with reflection. There was food on the table, favorites from his childhood, cooked not for celebration but comfort. His favorite side dishes, the soup she used to make when he was sick, the dessert she always said was too sweet but made anyway because it made him smile. He ate slowly, as if tasting the past in every bite. There were no interviews,